Shalom. This is to all Israelite groups and all Israelite communities and all breakoffs from One West and breakoffs from breakoffs from breakoffs from breakoffs. No matter what rainbow uniform you wear, red, white, purple and white, all white, it don't matter. You should all treat the I.S.U.P.K like your weird, misunderstood Sabbaths. You shouldn't do anything until you counsel with the I.S.U.P.K. We'll tell you when and what to eat. We'll tell you who to marry. We'll tell you who to have sex with and how. We'll tell you how to resolve conflicts with your wives. We'll tell you how to resolve conflicts with your kids, your brothers, your sisters, your parents, your friends, everybody. We'll tell you when and how to pray. We'll tell you how to direct your life in a way that's pleasing to the Most High God of Israel and our Black King Yahawashi, aka Jesus Christ. We will be to you instead of a God. Just like the Most High told Moses in Exodus 4:16 that Aaron would be to him instead of a mouth and he would be to Aaron instead of a God, that's what we'll do for you. It is what you all need because none of you know what the fuck you are doing. I pray you understand. Shalom.
Hey, Shalom, Israel. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge, started out in 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Commander General YAHANNA. And since 1969, we have been teaching the truth according to the Bible. And what is that truth? That truth is that blacks, Hispanics, and natives are the 12 tribes of Israel. You know what I'm saying? As you can see at the bottom of the screen, we are live at the North Huntsville Public Library. So if you in the Huntsville area, you in the surrounding area, you need to pull up. You know what I'm saying? If you said you was going to pull up, go on and pull up. You know what I mean? Right. If you said you were coming, go on and be a man of your word and come on. You know what I'm saying? Ain't nothing wrong with it, bro. You know what I mean? I know you're tired. You done got off your slaves. We done all got off our slave, but we in here. You know what I'm saying? Let me go on and share this stream real quick. I should have been there this log here. Make sure y'all like and share the class. You know what I mean? Bobby. Share that there. All right. So this is where we at, man. So this is the month of June, right? I was like, I got the heavy hitters in here with me tonight. You know what I'm saying? I got the brother Officer 500 Tazar Moff in here with me. Get that brother a hand. That Officer 50 Nataza Doc in here with me, man. Get that brother a hand. You know what I mean? We hold it down the class. You know what I'm saying? Right here at the North Huntsville Public Library. You know what I'm saying? We in here. You know what I'm saying? Let me see who all up in here in the chat with me. Sister Rockama in here. Shalom, sis. River Officer River Officer 50 Nataza Doc. Shalom, Yahweh Shemar, the thought by Shem Yahweh Shah, sis. Good to see you in here. I'm going to say first, Shalom, Yahweh by Shem Yahweh Shah, Baraka Thumb to all the brothers. Shalom, Yahweh Shemar, the Than by Shem Yahweh Shah to all the sisters. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat, man. You know what I'm saying? Throw them in the chat. If you have any questions, throw them in the chat. Damn right, sis. You know what I mean? I had to do it for this month. Sis said she loved the background. Damn right. Let y'all see what it look like. It's that straight pride background right there. You know what I mean? I felt it was fitting to talk about it since we in this month that they call Pride Month. You know what I mean? This is the Pride Month, so we gotta have some kind of combatant against it. You feel me? We gotta go against it somehow. So this is how we're gonna go against it with this background and with these scriptures. You know what I mean? So let's go and get into it, man. You see the subject title, right? We're talking about black codes tonight. Why are we talking about black codes? It's important to talk about black codes because every month of June, right, outside of Pride Month, we always talk about Juneteenth. Right. You know what I'm saying? We talk about Juneteenth. And what was Juneteenth? Somebody tell me what Juneteenth was. And type it in the chat. If you're watching in the chat, type in the chat. What is Juneteenth? I'll give y'all a minute, and then I'm going to ask somebody in the class, see if y'all want to answer the question. What is Juneteenth? What is Juneteenth? You know what I'm saying? Go type it in the chat. I'll give y'all a couple of minutes. Get it in there. You know what I mean? Share the stream again here. All right. One y'all want to answer? What is Juneteenth?
Oh. Juneteenth is a holiday commemorating the end of slavery in the United States.
Mm-hmm. All right. The sister says, Slaggy, sir, apparently it was when the last of the slaves were freed from slavery, right? Both of y'all correct. I'm right. Clap it up. Get them brother and sister. Yeah, I'm right. That's what Juneteenth was, right? Go ahead.
I'm going to say when niggas thought the slave
Right. Right.
When niggas thought it.
Damn right. And slavery revolt ended in 1865. When did Juneteenth end? What year did it end? If I'm not mistaken, it was 1867, but you got to confirm that. I think it was 67.
It said June 19, 1865.
That was when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. But again, Juneteenth was when the last slaves were freed.
Slavery. What year did slavery end? Juneteenth is June 19, 1865.
Yeah, that's what year slavery ended on paper. But we talking about this last slaves were freed in Texas. You know what I'm saying?
I want so I can. Right here, might be 79. I don't know. Maybe not. Some in the 70s.
It was 67. It took 2 years. It took 2 years to free it. I'll try to find y'all that proof. Because it was you remember we had to go back to the story, so I'll go back to that. Wallace says I have to go back to that. That'll be next week's topic. That'll be next. Oh well, yeah, that'll be next week or week after next topic. But yeah, it was the slaves were freed in June 19, 1865. Right, that was when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed around that time, and that's what it is. Salaki. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed on January 1st of 1863. Salaki. That's when the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. The slaves weren't freed until, like y'all was saying, 1865. Salaki. I was wrong on that. The water for the research there. So yeah. So all right. So let's talk about it. This is my point about that, right? So the paperwork was signed in 1863. Why did it take 2 years for everybody to get freed in 1865? Right? Why did it take 2 years? That's my question to y'all. Why do you think it took 2 years? Because the paperwork was signed in 1863. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed January 1st, 1863. Right? But the slaves wasn't freed all the way down in Texas until June 19th, 1865. Why do you think that was the case? Go ahead.
I think some of the slave masters did not agree with it. They did not want to let their slaves go.
Mm-hmm. Said they want to let their slaves go. All right, I like that.
Didn't they not have a war about that?
They did. That was a civil war.
Right.
So said a lot of the slaves couldn't read. Zalma, what you got to say about that? Why you think it took 2 years for all the slaves to be free? This is a real One West answer here.
Because the white man is the
goddamn devil. Damn right. That's the reason why, right now.
I had the answer already. I was like, maybe we'll hear it again.
Yeah. That's 100% correct. That's the reason why it took 2 years. Because the white man is the devil the Bible speaks of. You know what I'm saying? This is the reason why it took 2 years for these brothers to get freed. It took 2 years for these folks to be freed out of their oppression. You know what I'm saying? And like the brother said earlier, they thought they was free. They were still in slavery. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. You understand? If you could read that first article by Shah. So like, let me, I want to get this one. Yeah, I like this one. I like this one right here. Okay, I'm gonna send this to you right now. No, I want this one right here. Is that the history? Is that history.com? That's Britannica. I want that. Yeah, I want the history.com. It's at the bottom. Yeah, it's down all the way at the bottom. We're gonna read this one for a little bit. We're gonna, you know what I'm saying? We're gonna read about these black codes and see what the black codes were. You know, so you got it. All right. Well, now whenever you get it, you can read that Bible for sure. So yeah, we got freed, right? We got freed in 1863 on paper, and we got the last slaves was freed in 1865, June 19, 1865. You know what I'm saying? But just because the paperwork said we was free doesn't mean we were actually free. And we're gonna read about these black codes and what they were. Now, before we get into it, anybody tell me what the black codes were? Can anybody tell me in the chat, if you're watching online, type in what are the black codes? You know what I'm saying? And if y'all in the room, y'all know what the black codes were or are without reading the paperwork. Or what, before you came in this class today, what were the black codes? Officer Kunal, what were the black codes? Or what did you know what the black codes were? That was the same for me. And if anybody online, did y'all know what the black codes were? Anybody, you know what I'm saying? What y'all think the black codes were? But for me, it was the same thing. I didn't know what they were either. You know what I mean? However, we did know what they were. We just didn't realize that's what they was. You know what I'm saying? And we're going to read about this today. All right?
You said the black code?
Yeah, because sister said laws against so-called black people. Damn right. Mm-hmm.
Black code.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay. Black codes were restrictive laws designed to limit the freedom of African Americans and ensure their availability as a cheap labor force after slavery was abolished during the Civil War.
Right. So this is what the black codes were: restrictive laws. Right. These black codes were restrictive laws that was tied to African Americans, so-called African Americans, to ensure cheap labor after the Civil War, like you just said, right? You said there was a war about it, right? Damn right. Keep going.
Though the Union victory had given some 4 million enslaved people their freedom, the question of free black people's status in the post-war South was still very much unresolved. Under black codes, many states required black people to sign yearly labor contracts. If they refused, they would risk being arrested, fined, forced into unpaid labor. Yeah,
right. So under the black codes, you had and it says many states, right? Because different states had different laws, right? In America right now, you might have a state that has legalized marijuana, but other states have not legalized marijuana. It was the same way back then in 1865 and 1863. You understand? Under the black codes, black people had to what? They had to sign yearly labor contracts, right? you had to say, look, I'm gonna be at this job for a year. You had to be at this job for a year. You couldn't leave that job. You know what I'm saying? You had to stay at that job for a year. If you refused to sign a yearly labor contract, then you was going to be arrested, fined, and forced into unpaid labor. Now, so slavery was abolished in 1865, right? Let me see if y'all know y'all's the Constitution, right? What is the only legal way you can have a slave today? What is the only way you can legally have a slave today? Go ahead.
Indentured servitude.
Indentured servitude? Nah, I wouldn't say that. Because even in indentured, you can twirl. Because even in indentured it's like in indentured servitude, you still was getting compensated. It was.
So you talking about a slave?
Yeah, you ain't get nothing. You ain't get nothing, right? With that's 100% correct. That's 100% correct. And the only way you can have a slave today is damn right. Sis said if they break the law, 100% correct. If you break the law, you go to prison. The 13th Amendment allows you to have a slave if you are in prison, right? That's the only way you can have a slave is if it's through prison. You know what I'm saying? If it's through you breaking the law. So read that sentence again.
Come. Under black codes, many states require black people to sign yearly labor contracts. If they refuse, they will risk of being arrested, fined, and forced into unpaid labor. Right.
So if you didn't sign that yearly contract, if you left that job before that yearly contract was over with, you went right back into slavery. You know what I'm saying? And that's what happens today. You understand what I'm saying? This is what happens today. Even when you go out, I didn't do the research like I wanted to, but when you drive past, what's that out there? When I'm heading to your crib. Limestone Penitentiary, right? Like those prisons were always on big ass farms or big old, you know what I mean? Big ass, excuse me, I'm trying not to curse. This was on these lots of land, right? Big lots of land because that was where the slaves was going. You know what I'm saying? They was having slavery out there on that land. And I would be willing to bet that that's the same situation for limestone. I ain't researching, I ain't looking it up. But if you look at limestone, they is out in the middle of nowhere, sitting on a whole bunch of land. In the cotton field, because you see what's all the way around it. You see nothing but cotton fields around limestone. You know what I'm saying? And even when you talk to people, like older people, they will always say, well, I'm up on the farm. If you was in prison, I'm on the farm. Because this is what they did. They were forced into unpaid labor through these black codes. You know what I'm saying? Keep going. Crazy.
Outrage over black codes helped undermine support for President Andrew Johnson and the Republican Party.
Mm-hmm. Keep going.
When President Abraham Lincoln announced the impending passage of the
Emancipation Proclamation.
Proclamation in the early 1863, the stakes of the Civil War shifted dramatically.
Right.
A Union victory would mean no less than revolution in the South, where the peculiar institution of slavery had dominated economic, political, and social life in the antebellum years.
Right. So you're saying that with this Union victory, they would have, because it would be dramatic, right? It would be a dramatic shift in that you know what I'm saying, in the revolution in the South because of slavery. Slavery dominated everything. Right. You know what I'm saying? Slavery was the reason for everything. You know what I mean? Slavery was the reason that land had value, right? Because if you remember, when they went out west, they let you do whatever when they was doing homesteads, right? You could have said, I want from here all the way to Jordan Lane, and nobody would have said nothing because when they was headed out west, there was no value on the land. The land only had value once you put a slave on it, and once you was able to grow and cultivate something. That's the only reason that your land had value. In the South, they had so much money because you had slavery. You had cotton being pushed out. You had tobacco being pushed out. You had all of these things being pushed. And that's why it was so wealthy down here. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
Comic-Con in April 1865, as the war drew to a close, close, Lincoln shocked many by proposing limited suffrage for African Americans in the South.
Yeah, drop that. Let's keep going. Read that. Did you know?
Did you know, in the years of following Reconstruction, the South reestablished many of the provisions of the black codes in the form of the so-called Jim Crow laws.
Right. So these black codes were the same codes that was in the slave code. You know what I'm saying? You had slave code. What were the slave code? That you couldn't be out here without your freedom paper. You couldn't. You had to be chained. You couldn't talk to white people, right? You had to address them by yes sir or no sir. All these things were what was taught to slaves, and these were your slave codes. But it said what? That these slave codes were reestablished through black codes in the form of so-called Jim Crow laws, right? Keep going.
Go. This remained firmly in place for almost a century, but were finally abolished with the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964.
Right. So they say that's when it abolished, that's when it ended, right? But that's a lie, because you know that some of these things you're gonna see still go on today. You know what I'm saying? Some of these black codes are still in place to this very day. Boom, 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 boom. Let's go down. I want to drop down. Let's go to passage of the black codes.
Come. Even as a former enslaved people fought to assert their independence and gain economic autonomy during the early years of Reconstruction, white landowners acted to control the labor force through a system similar to the one that had existed during slavery.
Right. They wanted to continue that life. They wanted to continue that culture. Keep going.
To that end, in the late of 1865, Mississippi and South Carolina enacted the first black code. Mississippi law required blacks to have written evidence of employment for the coming year each January. If they left before the end of the contract, they would be forced to forfeit early wages and were subject to arrest.
Right. So you had to stay on these, you had to stay at that job. Whatever that job was, you couldn't leave, right? We just talked about that. So even if you found another job where you was getting better pay, you couldn't leave because you had a yearly contract and you were going to be arrested for it. Keep going.
In South Carolina, a law prohibited black people from holding an occupation other than farmers or servant unless they pay an annual tax of $10 to $100.
Right. So you couldn't do nothing else other than be a farmer, right? Be a farmer or work in a restaurant. You had to be a servant. You had to either be out in the fields or you was in the big house, or you had to pay a fine. You couldn't even own your own business. You couldn't even own your own business. So when these Hamites come to America, or when these Asians come to America and they see our condition and they look at us and be like, why don't you get your own business? Why don't you start your own business? This is what our forefathers were doing. You understand? My grandfather was subject to these black codes. You know what I'm saying? My father was subject to these, right? Because that was at the time that he was around. You know what I'm saying? So when they said that unless they paid an annual tax, keep going.
This provision hit free black people already living in Charleston and former slave artisans especially hard. In both states, black people were given heavy penalties for vagrancy, including forced plantation labor in some cases.
What is vagrancy? Somebody tell me what vagrancy is? Just, you know what I mean? You ain't got to look it up.
I don't know. Heavy penalties and vagrancy. Vagrancy. I got to read this sentence.
Somebody type in the chat and tell me what y'all think vagrancy is. You can look it up now. Okay. Yeah. This is. I'm gonna read it again, and then we're gonna get a definition. It says in both states, black people were given heavy penalties for vagrancy. What is vagrancy? You got it, so I'm not reading when you got it. I know so.
Well, so I can say it's
homeless, right? Homelessness. A person, and this is the definition: a person without a settled home or regular work who wanders from place to place and lives by begging. Right? Now, That tells you that either you got a job or you going to prison. Right? That's what it's saying, right? Either you got a job or you finna be a slave. You can't even be free out here. Black people couldn't even walk around and be. You couldn't hang out in front of the library, or you were going to be forced into slavery. You understand what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? That's real rap. You feel me? This shit went on, like they said, they passed it until 1964. Now let me ask you a question. Y'all ever been around, like, you know, my slave put me around a bunch of white people. So before I came to the truth, I would go to lunch with these white folks and I would spend time with these white folks. I remember one time we was going to lunch and we had stopped at a red light or stopped at a stop sign or something, and there was some brothers sitting outside the house. I tell you about this story. It was some brothers sitting outside the store, sitting outside the house, right? And the number one like consensus in the car was, it must be nice to be able to sit down and not have a job. It must be nice to be like that. Or I remember one devil said, why don't they just go get a job? You understand what I'm saying? You can't even be free even to today. You can't even be free today to do what the fuck you want to do. You got to do what they want you to do. Right. To be accepted in America, you got to do what they want you to do. If you out here don't have a job, you can't be accepted in America. You're gonna be rejected. Look how badly they talk about you if you on government assistance. Look how badly they talk about you if you don't have any money. All of this still streams from black codes. All of this streams from these slave codes. All of this comes from all of this devilishness that this white man was doing. You know what I'm saying? And that shit pissing me off. You know what I'm saying? Like, just like going through and reading a lot of this stuff is horrible, man. You know what I mean? Hey, Shalom, sis. Good to see you. Good to see you, sis. Faith. Sis there said, Shalom, Yahweh Shemar, thought about Shem, Yahweh Shah River, Officer 500. So I'm off checking in. Shalom, sis. Yeah, keep going, man.
Under Johnson Reconstruction policy, nearly all the southern states would enact their own black codes in 1865 and 1866.
Right. This is the limits on black freedom, right? So even though you was made free, like the Zalmoff said so well at the beginning of it, they thought they was free. These were the limits that they would put on. Under Johnson's Reconstruction policies, they put these black codes in place in 1865 and 1866. Keep going.
While the codes granted certain freedoms to African Americans, include the right to buy and own property, marry and make contracts and testify in court, only in cases involving people of their own race.
Hold on, you got to slow down on this. You got to slow down on this. Slow down and read it again, Baba Kushai.
While the codes granted certain freedoms to African Americans, including the right to buy and own property, marry and make contracts.
Hold on. So these were the rights you were granted, right? You were granted a right to buy property. You could own property, right? But if you remember, redlining is a thing. If you don't know what redlining is, this was a thing. Redlining is where you could not buy property in this area. You could only buy property in this area specifically, right? That's why you got so many black people on the north side of Huntsville. You understand? Keep going. It says it included the right to buy and own property, marry, right? That you could marry. However, you couldn't marry whoever you wanted to, which you shouldn't do no way, goddammit. You know what I'm saying? But if you was married to a white woman, that was a problem. You couldn't marry a white woman in the South. Most High Christ for that. You know what I'm saying? You could make contracts. And then it says you were able to testify in court. But what was the caveat? What was the caveat? When were you only able to testify in court? Read it.
Only in cases involving people of their own race.
So that was the only time you was able to testify, is when it was a beef between niggas. That's the only time. If it was not a beef between black people, you could not do that. You understand? Keep going.
Their primary purpose was to restrict black people labors, and activities.
Right. This was the whole point, was to control you, black man. This whole thing was to control you, black, Hispanic, and Native man. Keep going.
Come. Some states limit the type of property that a black people could own, while virtually all the former Confederate states passed strict vagrancy and the labor contract laws, as well as so-called anti-Semitic
anti-enticement
measure designed to punish anyone who offered higher wages to a black laborer already under contract.
You see what I'm saying? So you couldn't leave a job. You understand? Once you got under that contract, you couldn't leave a job. You couldn't go to another job. Somebody couldn't come and tell you, hey, look, I'm gonna pay you a little bit more money if you came over here. You couldn't do that. So you was trapped in this contract until the white man allowed you to get out of it. Because you couldn't read. You couldn't really tell what was being said on this paper. The white man could have told you that in January, I'm gonna let you go. And then come January, well, let's try again next year. You know what I'm saying? And it ain't because, and I'm not saying this because of anything that I think. I'm telling you what my grandparents and my family had to go through. You know what I'm saying? Folks that couldn't even get out their own land because they was indentured servants, right? They was being compensated for the house. They got paid through the housing. They got paid through the food. And they couldn't get off that land until they settled that debt. You know what I'm saying? Let's see. Keep going.
Con. Black people who broke labor contracts were subject to arrest, beating, and forced labor, and apprenticeship laws forced many minors, either orphans or those whose parents were deemed unable to support them by a judge, into unpaid labor for white planters.
Right. So apprenticeship laws is forced many minors, either you were orphans or those whose parents were deemed unable to support them by a judge, into unpaid labor. So even your children were born. Even your children were born. So if you had children and you couldn't take care of them, because abortion, you weren't aborting like that back then, right? So yeah, you might have had about 9 kids, but you couldn't raise them. You couldn't raise all them children. You couldn't raise all the babies, man. You know what I'm saying? You might have had 6, 7 kids. You couldn't raise them all. So the ones that you couldn't raise and you moved on, those were forced into slavery. You feel me? These are apprenticeship laws.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Come. Passed by a political system in which black people effectively had no voice. The black codes were enforced by all white police.
Say what?
By all white police.
They was enforced by all white police? Keep going.
All white police and state militia forces, often made up Confederate veterans of the Civil War across the South.
And now you ask me why black people don't like the police. You know what I'm saying? You ask me why black people don't like the police. These were the ones that made you make sure you didn't break these laws. Made sure you didn't break none of these black codes that they was pressed upon, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's go. I think I want to read. Oh, what the rest of it? I thought we had some examples of codes in here. Salaki. That's in the other one. Let's go to. Let's read. Since we on this, let's go drop to the impact of black codes. Let's finish that.
Con.
Oh, Salaki. If y'all are interested in this article, I know y'all can't see it. I can. I'll put it in the chat so y'all can read along. Can I do that? I tell you what, go to Facebook and I'm gonna put it in here in the Facebook and y'all can check it out there if you wanna check it out. Facebook and I'm gonna put it in here in the Facebook so y'all can check it out. I could, but I don't feel like it. So yeah, here you go. So that's the article we're reading from history.com. Okay. If anybody wanted to follow along, if y'all Can't hear anything like that. All right. But I read the impact of black codes, Buffalo Shot.
The descriptive nature of the codes was widespread.
Mm-hmm.
Black resistance to their enforcement enraged many in the North.
Right. So black resistance. Hold on. Read that again. So the restrictive nature of the codes. Read that part. Like
the restrictive nature of the codes and widespread black resistance to their enforcement enraged many in the North.
Wow. Keep going.
Who argued that the codes violate the fundamental principle of free labor ideology.
Mm-hmm.
After passing the Civil Rights Act over Johnson.
So like now you see they wasn't mad. They said it was because of free labor ideology, right? It wasn't because black people being mistreated. It wasn't because niggas was being stepped on and disrespected and all of this, right? That's not why they was upset about this. They argued the codes violated the fundamental principles of free labor ideology because, nigga, you getting free labor out of these black people. You know what I'm saying? All of this was to put black people in a situation where you had to serve for free and you were never to be paid. And the North didn't like it because they kept benefiting from it. The South kept benefiting from it. The North never was able to get none of that money from them, man. Keep going, man.
Calm. After passing the Civil Rights Act over Johnson veto, Republicans in Congress effectively took control of Reconstruction. The Reconstruction Act of 1867 required Southern states to ratify the 14th Amendment, which granted equal protection of the Constitution to former enslaved people and act universal male suffrage before they could rejoin the Union.
Right. So this is what they were saying. Like they saying you gotta cut all these black codes out before you can join the Union. Keep going.
The 15th Amendment, adopted in 1870, granted to a civil rights to vote would not be denied on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude.
Now, this is the 15th Amendment, right? All these amendments they put in trying to combat black codes, slave codes. All of this was put in to try to combat it. As Shalom says, Cheyenne, Shalom, Cheyenne, Yahweh Shemar, thought about you outside. Salaki and Sis Rahab. Shalom says, good to see you in here. All right. Yeah, so all of these amendments were put in place to try to prevent these black codes and how it's impacting us. So amendment after amendment had to be put in place. Now, the brother just read one where it talked about how you could not, I'll read it again. It says the 15th Amendment adopted in 1870 guaranteed that a citizen's right to vote would not be denied on account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Now, that was in 1870. Black folks still couldn't vote until what, 1965, 1964, until the Civil Rights Act? You still couldn't vote. And if you keep it real, black folks still can't vote to this day if you're a felon. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
Calm. During the period of radical Reconstruction, 1867, 1877, black men won election to Southern state government and even to the U.S. Congress.
So it's going to keep going on. Read this last paragraph. We're going.
As indicated by the passage of the Black Codes, however, white Southerners showed a steadfast commitment to ensuring their supremacy and the survival of plantation agriculture in the post-war years. Support for Reconstruction policies waned after the early 1870s, undermined by the violence of white supremacy organizations such as the Ku Klux Klan. Right.
So now what they're trying to see, what the history.com is trying to do now is trying to soften the blow and say that these things went away. But these things were still in place, right? These black codes were still in place even to this day. Go to the Britannica article real quick. Go to the Britannica. If you go back to that form, that document I sent you, you're gonna see. I think that's what my examples of black codes was.
You said go to what?
Black code, the Britannica.
Got it.
So we're gonna go to. I think I'm we're gonna, I'm gonna save you from reading. I'm gonna just run them out. So we talked about, so what we read in this article, we talked about the black codes that said that you had to have a job, that you could not be vacant, that you couldn't be moving from place to place. You know how some folks move from Alabama. You might be in Athens this month, might be down in Mobile next month. You might be in Atlanta next month. You going to Houston next month. You can't do that, right? That was against the black code. Another black code was that you couldn't look a white man in the face, right? If you remember that was I know y'all heard of these, right? You couldn't look a white man in the house. We all niggas from the South. We know these things, right? That you couldn't look a black man in the face. That if a white, so like you couldn't look a white man in the face. That if it was a white man that was coming on the sidewalk, what did the black man have to do? He had to get out of the way. You had to get off the sidewalk. It's so prevalent, bro, that I was taking my mama into Outbacks the other day, maybe Sunday, Monday, I don't know what day it was. We went to Outback, right? And there was a white couple coming out day, baby. Me and my mama, we walking on the sidewalk going into Outback. Now these white folks see us and they move out the way. They actually go step off in the grass, right? And you know what I'm saying? So they do that, right? And so we go a little ways, we get close to the door, then white folks further on. My mama looked at me and said, not too long ago, so like I had to get my mind right real quick. She's like, not too long ago, niggas weren't able to do that. Niggas would have to get off the sidewalk. You know what I'm saying? This is my mother who was able to recall this memory that she was going through because she had to move off the sidewalk. She had to be, you know what I'm saying, be subject to these codes, these Jim Crow laws. You know what I'm saying? Y'all ain't with me tonight. Go ahead.
A lot of people, like you saying, this is like when Africans or somebody come over here. They don't understand it. Like, this was not long ago.
It wasn't that long ago.
This is not that long ago. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It ain't like been thousands.
That's right. That's right.
So definitely African in my job.
This is real life right here.
Sure.
This is real life, man. This is what we are. This is what we went through, man. Right. You know what I'm saying? These black codes that we just read about is what we were subject to through all of this time. You know what I'm saying? And you can't even act like it doesn't affect us. The only reason you can act like that is if you turn a blind eye to it. And that's what the white man does. That's what all these heathens that eat off of us do. You know what I'm saying? They turn a blind eye to how we being treated and how we were treated. You feel me? That's how they do us, man. Let's drop that. Let's go to Psalms 83. And now when you start talking about Psalms 83 and these prayers that we pray, now imagine you are under these oppression. You under these black codes. You know what I'm saying? And you asking to be freed from this situation. You asking to be freed from this oppression that you're in. You know what I mean? This is what he's writing about. Read that when you get it.
It's the book of Psalms, chapter 83.
Mm-hmm.
Keep not thy silence, O Yahweh.
Mm-hmm. You can read it in English.
Oh, God. Keep not thy silence, O God.
Mm-hmm.
Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God.
This is the prayer that he's making. He's making a prayer, goodness, to say, keep not thy silence, O God, right?
God.
He said, he's making a prayer to say, hold not your peace. You know what I'm saying? Look at what we suffer. Right. Look at the oppression that we're under. And we saying, keep not your silence, God. Hold not your peace. Keep going.
God. For lo, thy enemies make a tumble,
and
they hate thee, have lifted up the head.
Right. It says thine enemies make a tumble. Your enemy is making a tumble. This oppressor is his enemy. If y'all don't know this, the white man is an enemy of God. Right. You understand? The Asian and the Hamites and all these other nations are enemies of the Most High God. You understand? And these enemies are making a tumult. They making trouble. You know what I'm saying? They're saying that they that hate thee, like the white man, he hates the God of the Bible. It's not another person that the white man hates more, or another entity that the white man hates more than the God of the Bible. And I say that because I know when you look at the white man, he goes to church, but he is worshiping Caesar Borgia. Right. He's not worshiping the God of the Bible. He's worshiping a white man, a pedophile. You understand? Then those that have hated the Most High God, they have lifted their head. Keep going.
Verse 3.
Mm-hmm.
They have taken crafty counsel against our people.
Right, taking crafty counsel. They came up with a whole system of laws and rules that we got to follow. A whole system of laws and ordinances that we got to keep, or else we going back into slavery. They're taking crafty counsel. Keep going.
And consulted against our hidden one.
And consulted against that hidden one. They consulted against us. They in cahoots with each other. They in cahoots with these other nations, trying to figure out how they can keep us down. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation.
Is that not what they have done? Black people don't even know where they're from. Black people don't have a land or a heritage. So-called blacks, Hispanics, and natives don't have a land or a heritage to go back to. You can talk about Mexico all you want to. That's not their land. This is the white Spaniards' land. You understand? That was their land. They rule that land right now. You understand? It says cut them off from being a nation. Black people don't even know that they Israelites. Go ahead.
Right. You know they don't run their land because they can't.
Right. That's their religion.
Right. They so damn free. Why
they still worshiping
Catholic church?
Yeah, right. Getting their children messed with. Right. SA. You understand what I'm saying? Nah, 100% correct. Because they the ones, they don't have no power over this. If they had power over it, they would have been stopped the cartels. Right. They would have been stopping the cartels, but them cartels make too much money. Keep going.
That the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance.
They don't even know. We don't even remember who we were, man. We don't even remember that, man. You know what I'm saying? And we can keep going on that. Psalms 83 is a heavy scripture, man. That's a heavy prayer that we read every Saturday. You know what I'm saying? We read this prayer every Saturday because we want the Lord to come and destroy these other nations on our behalf, man. You know what I'm saying? Fill their faces with shame that they may seek thy name. You know what I'm saying? All right, drop that. Let's go to what's the next one I got? Nah, don't worry about that one. We'll go to Psalms chapter 10, verse 8.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 10, verse 8.
Let's go up a little bit. Now, the General Shalimar said that the Psalms is full of scriptures against the white man, and I got to agree with him. Go up to what I told you to start at, brother.
Verse 8.
Let's go up to verse 4.
This is the book of Psalms, chapter 10, verse 4. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after God.
Right.
God is not all in all his thoughts.
Is not in all his thoughts. He don't even think about the Lord. God is not in all his thoughts. You see these white folk go to church every Sunday. God ain't in their mind, ain't in their thoughts, man. You know what I'm saying? Keep going.
Verse 5. His ways are always grievous.
Always grievous. His ways always grievous. Keep going.
Thy judgments are far above out of his sight.
Right. His judgments are terrible judgments, is what that's saying. It says thy judgments, the most high judgments, are above out of his sights, which means that the oppressor's judgments are terrible. They're of low value, of low quality. You understand? I was going to read about George Steiny tonight. I was going to talk about his judgment his judgment that he got from the white man. Y'all know who George Steiny is? We got a lot of class. You know what I'm saying? George Steiny was the youngest, he's the youngest American citizen to ever be unalived. And by the court system, right? The youngest to ever be electrocuted. The 14-year-old. No, Emmett Till was not electrocuted. He wasn't killed by the system. He was killed by white people. You know what I'm saying? It's no different than George Steiner, but he was. Go ahead.
So you ain't talking about the Scottsboro.
I think this one. I can't even remember what state this was in. No, that wasn't Scottsboro boys. Okay. George Steiner was the one that got killed in the electric chair. He was unalived in the electric chair. And they came back 70 years later and found out that he was not the one that did it. He gone now. But we talking about his judgments, right? We talking about his judgment. Keep going.
Come. As for all his enemies, he puffeth at them.
He puffed at them. That's what the white man do. Keep going.
Come. Verse 6. He hath said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in an adversary.
In adversity.
Ain't
that what the white man do? Ain't that what Donald Trump doing right now? He don't give a damn about this war that's going on. He might be sending some resources over there, but he ain't worried. He ain't give a damn about that war. And these white folks don't give a damn about the war neither. These white people out here ain't worried about it. They don't think America can be touched.
Right.
They think America cannot be touched. You talk to these white folks out here, they think America is that powerful that they will never be affected. Well, I got a news for you. I think off the top of I said, I got some news you can use. You understand what I'm saying? Keep going.
Come, verse 7. His mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud.
That's what, ain't that the white man? His mouth is full of cursing. Keep going.
On his tongue is mischief and vanity.
It's nothing. Everything he says is nothing. All of it. This is the verse I wanted. Keep going.
Come, verse 8. He sitteth in the lurking place of the villages. In the secret places, though he murdered the innocent, his eyes are privately set against the poor.
Right. This is what the white Israelite is, right? He privately set against the poor. Even these folks, just like these black codes, if you didn't have a job, you was homeless, what did he do? He put you in jail. Even to this day, vagrancy is still against the law. You can't be homeless and free in America. You understand what I'm saying? This is the truth of the matter, bro. Keep going.
Come. He lieth and wait secretly as a lion in his den. He lieth and wait to catch the poor. He doth catch the poor and he draweth him into his net. Verse 10. He croucheth and humbleth himself that the poor may fall by his strong one.
That the poor may fall by his strong one. And then this is the oppressor that we're talking about, man. This is the oppressor we're talking about. Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 30. I ain't gonna hold y'all too long, man. I ain't gonna hold y'all too much longer. Boom. Wait. Nah. I want to say that one. Let's read this that laughing barrel. Let's read that laughing barrel. Let me send this to you, Zalma. Boom. You can read it when you got it.
Come. Laughing barrels and the defiant spirit of black laughter. Seems like every year I learn something new, factoid about how plantation operated. Factoid about how plantation operated during the time of shadow slavery of African peoples in America.
Right. It says she's saying she seemed like she's learning something new every year, right? Some new fact about when we was enslaved. This is what the author of this article is saying, right? And of course, chattel slavery is the slavery that we was under. And she said of African peoples because the world ignorantly calls us Africans and African Americans. Keep going.
Come invariably come across.
It says I inevitably
come across another unfortunate piece of knowledge that I wish I never had to know.
This is what she's saying, right? Now you got to understand the article. The lady that wrote this article, you know what I mean? She's obviously not in the truth. She's surprised by a lot of things. But this thing in particular is kind of heavy. Keep going.
Come. At the same time, I always understand how it is of vital importance that these things be remembered. Because white supremacists is always in the business of forgetting and deal exclusively in lies.
Didn't we just read about that in the scripture? You know what I'm saying? It says white supremacy is always in the business of forgetting and deals exclusively in lies. It's heavy. Keep going.
Come. This week I learned about laughing barrels. Laughing
barrels. What is a laughing barrel? Putting out to the doc. What is a laughing barrel?
I don't know.
God, most high Christ. You know what it is, Zalma? What's a laughing barrel?
Salaki, whenever you was about to laugh, you had to stick your head in the barrel and laugh.
Damn right. Damn right.
Salaki. Why?
Why? Let's read.
Okay. Enslaved Africans were not allowed to laugh on some plantation, and so in an act of defiance as a mode of survival, they often stuck their heads into barrels in order to laugh out of sight and out of earshot of white slavers.
Right. So this was the whole point that a laughing barrel was around, right? Just like the brother Jazar said, you weren't allowed to laugh on a plantation. You weren't allowed to laugh. You weren't allowed to be seen having fun. Go ahead, Jazar.
Salaki, sir. You could have said the funniest damn thing in the world. Once I looked over and seen that barrel, my nigga, I ain't laughing.
Ain't nothing funny no more.
What's
Ain't nothing funny no more.
this barrel that killed all my, you know what I'm saying?
It killed your whole everything. It killed your whole spirit. Killed your whole spirit, man. You know what I'm saying? The sister said, Sister Rockama said, couldn't even be happy. Damn right. You couldn't be happy out there, man. You know what I'm saying? Shalom, Yahweh Shemar, thought about Shem Yahweh Shah says, I said, possession of priest and officer 50, Hawan Ya'Allah. Deja checking in. Shalom says, good to see you. All right. Yeah, so that's what it was. Keep going.
Come. This apparently is where we get the term a barrel of laughs. After quite a bit of research, I'm still unsure of whether or not this is a myth. But I will proceed here with the understanding of laughing barrels are literal rather than figurative.
Because those laughing barrels are literal. The sister wrote this not knowing, but there's a lot of research about laughing barrels that there's, cited in different papers, cited in books and papers about how laughing barrels really were a thing. You know what I'm saying? Boom. Let's drop down to 12 years a slave.
12 years a slave.
No, it's still in the article. It's still in the article. Go back to the Black Youth Project. Laughing barrels. We're gonna read this. This is an older article, but y'all seen the movie 12 Years a Slave?
Okay.
You seen it, Kuna?
Wait, come.
Oh, you seen the movie? It was a decent movie. Wasn't he a Hamite that starred in the movie? I thought it was a Hamite. His brother.
Yeah, brother.
That name looks very Hamish to me.
Right,
Nah, that's the woman. Lupita Nyong'o.
You said 12 Years a Slave? Nah, that's a brother.
Okay. Yeah, his name looks very.
If he played off, I know who he played off.
I can't even pronounce the brother.
Dang, he played off the. He just did on Netflix series.
Solomon.
He was on American Gangster. He was Denzel.
Chiweedle.
Yeah. Chiweedle El-Jafar. That definitely looked like some ham. But I'm gonna take y'all word. He's not a ham. I don't know, so I'm gonna take y'all word. Y'all know better than me.
Okay.
It could be.
I don't know. I'm not gonna put it on the brother like that. I ain't did that. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna roll with what you say. All right, read that though.
Okay. Great. Here's
12 Years a Slave.
Okay, I want to make sure. 12 Years a Slave was the last slave film I ever watched. When Lupita, where you going?
Nyong'o, or how you say it. Y'all know who that is, right?
That's
Lupita.
The girl off Black Panther?
Yeah, right. That's it. Keep going.
Admitted recently that she still hasn't got over the trauma of it. I felt some kind of relief, and then I felt guilty for feeling that relief.
Now, Lupita Nyong'o is a ham. I think she is Hamite. He's not J. Okay, that's what I think. Okay, yeah. That name looked Hamish to me. You know what I'm saying?
purple. We can purple cat it.
Still love me.
Make him a brother. He got some money.
Right. We can accept it. He can't be accepted in his house. But so yeah, all right. So if you remember the movie, Lupita was you know what I mean, she played in the movie. I think she was the brother Sabaki. I think she was the Ham's wife. I think she was Ham's wife in that movie, if I'm not mistaken. But she's saying she still hasn't gotten over the trauma. And this is go ahead.
No, Salaki. You said, what's the lady?
Lupita Nyong'o.
No, that was the one that was Salaki. That was the slave owner was having sex with her.
Ah, okay.
And, you know, the wife got mad and made her go whip.
That's right.
Slave owner whip
That's
her.
right. That's right. Okay, that's the one. Yeah. So she was traumatized by acting like a slave. She was traumatized from acting like a slave. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, man. This is how traumatic slavery was, man. This is how traumatic slavery was. Being a black man in America. This is how hard it is being a black, Hispanic, or Native man or woman in America. This is what you suffer through. This is what we go through, man. And niggas want to celebrate Juneteenth. This is hard for me to celebrate it because 1863 niggas was free. The Emancipation Proclamation was signed January 1st, 1863. It took 2 fucking years for the niggas to be free, to get freed out of their slavery. You think them niggas was celebrating? Or do you think they was upset because it took 2 years for you to tell me that I'm no longer a slave? And then now I'm no longer a slave, but I gotta still be a slave.
So you're still a slave.
You're still a slave.
Let's go back to Nashville.
You see what I'm saying? This is what I'm saying, bro. Like, I don't see no enjoyment out of Juneteenth, man. I don't see nothing to party about, man. You know what I mean? I don't see nothing to party about from Juneteenth. Like, boom, boom, boom. I'm about to call you back.
Somebody trying to join. I heard
She
y'all
trying to
niggas.
join the class. Salagia, mama. Call you back, mama. Put that on Do Not Disturb. Boom, boom. Hopefully the class didn't drop. All right, most of the class. So yeah, that's what I'm saying, man. Like, this is, everybody wants to celebrate Juneteenth, but like, what about the people that was actually going through it? Right. Now let's get Ezekiel chapter. Now let's get Psalms 137, 3 and 4. Because everybody wants us to celebrate. Everybody wants us to have a party. For Memorial Day, what you do? You barbecue. You have a party. For July 4th, you ain't, even though you realize that that's a day that you were still a slave, what do? You barbecue. You have a party. For Christmas, what do? You barbecue. You have a party. Juneteenth, you want to do what? You want to barbecue and have a party. I'm sick of the goddamn having a party, man. I'm sick of it, man. I'm sick and tired of having to still go to, you feel me, be in the situation that we in, be in the oppression that we in. You got that?
Oh, God.
Read that when you got it.
It's the book of Psalms 137, verse 1.
Verse 3. Start verse 3.
Verse 3. For there they that carried us away.
You know what, bro? The Lord told you to read verse 1. Read verse 1. Read verse 1, Bible.
It's Psalms 137, verse 1. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept. When we remember Zion. So
this is when they was in captivity. They was finna get carried away to captivity. They was finna get carried away in captivity. It says we wept when we remember Zion. What is Zion? What is Zion? Zion is Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, yeah.
Right, keep going.
Verse 2. We hang our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof.
Right, we hanged our harps up there. We got all our songs, all the good times that we had, we left it there. Keep going.
Verse 3. For there they that carry us away captive require of us a song.
This is what they said, man. It says, for there they that carried us away captive required of us a song. Keep going.
And they that wasted us require of us mirror, saying, sing us.
Hold on 1 second. It says, and they that wasted us required of us murder. You know what I'm saying? It says they that wasted us. What does that mean to waste us? To destroy us. Those that destroyed us required of us murder. Keep going.
Sing us one of these songs of Zion.
Right, now they want us to sing a song of Zion. That's what the oppressor is doing to us. Sing us a rap song. What's a rap song? Play a rap song. You feel me? This is Juneteenth. Go have a party, nigga.
Right.
Play your little rap music, man. Have fun. Because you now a slave now. You my captain now. Keep going.
Verse 4. How shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land?
Yeah, right. That's it. I ain't got nothing else for that. It said, how shall we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? You know what I'm saying?
That would be the Negro spiritual song for real now.
This is a false narrative. Ivory Sanders says a false narrative of freedom. 100%. You talking about Juneteenth. Juneteenth is definitely a false narrative of freedom. It's definitely not freedom, man. You know what I'm saying? You want us to sing a song, man. You know what I mean? It's horrible, bro, that this is the situation that we have found ourselves in. But in the spirit of brotherhood, knowing this is a brotherhood class, how do we get out of this situation? How do we fix the problem that we have over our heads right now? You know what I'm saying? How do we get back and deal what we have to do, man? What we got to do, Zephaniah chapter 2 and verse 1, and I'm going to start in Zephaniah 2 and 1.
Oh! Zephaniah 2, word 1.
Mm-hmm.
I had to think about that for a second. This is the book of Zephaniah, chapter 2, verse 1. Gather yourself together. Yeah, gather together, O nation, not desire.
Yeah, right. That's how we come. That's how we get out of this hellhole. It's by coming together with your people. Coming together with your brothers and sisters, man. Zephaniah chapter 2, verse 1 says, gather together, O nation, not desire. Keep going.
Come, verse 2. Before the decree bring forth, before the day pass as the shaft,
right.
Before the fierce anger of the Lord come upon you,
right.
Before the day of the Lord angers come upon you. Verse 3.
That's it.
Oh, sorry.
No, you 12. He said, this is how you get out of this, man. It's by coming together. Because the Lord is going to set forth a decree that's going to require us to come together. And if we don't come together at that time, listen, then you're going to suffer. Worse than you suffering right now. Because America is going to burn.
Right.
America going to burn, baby.
Right.
It's not going to live forever. This kingdom is not going to last forever. Every kingdom falls. Rome fell. Alexander the Greek, when he was in power, that nation fell. You understand? The Mongolians, all of these kingdoms fell over time. No kingdom lasted forever. America also has to fall. And it's going to fall by the power of YAHANNA. You understand? The Most High God is going to send his son Christ to destroy this place. And it's going to be nuclear warfare. It's going to happen. It's been prophesied in the Bible. And it's obviously, you see this happening right now if you pay attention on the news. So what do? We gather together. Deuteronomy chapter 28, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1, all the way down through 15, tell what will happen if we come together and keep these laws, statutes, and commandments. Stop eating pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster. Stop hating your brother. Stop being a whore. You understand? Being selective with who you choose to lay down with. Because knowing that that's your wife. Right. Knowing that these decisions that you make and how you make them is what determines what you're going to be in the end. You know what I'm saying? Keeping this power, having this power that we have right here in these scriptures, this is the only way we're going to get out of it, man. You know what I'm saying? It's the only way we're going to get out of it, man. You know what I mean? But, y'all got anything y'all want to add? Anything y'all want to say?
To your point too, because these niggas really think America is not going to fall.
Right.
Like when you talk about stuff like all this war or whatever going on. Oh man, shoot, we're in America. I'm talking about Negroes. I can understand the white man. This is his country. I can understand. These Negroes is just got all their faith in America.
All of it.
All their faith in America. But they'll sit there and you know, behind closed doors, man, you know, white folks, man, they be, man, I can't stand the white folks, man. I can't stand.
But you go out there in front of her. How you doing, Mr. White Man?
Right. and you know, I understand. But you still put your faith in America.
That's right. That's
like,
right.
I feel like that's some cowards.
100%.
Okay, I don't care. I mean, you know, I know you got to do what you do to keep your job.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
I hope this place burns.
100%.
And hell, if I got to be right here standing in it,
let it go. Let it burn.
I'm looking up, Lord, bring the chariot.
right.
It's getting hot.
Right,
but,
right.
You know,
100%. I catch it on the next one, bro. That's what I say.
Right.
That's what I say.
May Lord be with you.
You know what I'm saying? So, man, this way got to burn, bro. It's got to end. The decisions that we make it and how we live it. And what you saying is so heavy. Niggas believing that America gonna live forever. You know what I'm saying? Like, the problem I have is when we talk about, we gotta vote, man. We gotta come together. That's the only way we're gonna make this better. It ain't finna get better. How many years have we been here and it's never gotten better? But you holding out hope for America.
that's really it.
You holding out hope for America.
That's all it is.
That one day this oppressor will accept you. That this white man will love you. Bro, I remember, I got you right. I'll come to you right now. I remember Commander J. YAHANNA, and this is so on point. Commander J. YAHANNA was saying the relationship with black people and America is similar to a relationship of a man beating on his wife and she continuing to go back to her. This man, Ezekiel chapter 63. I'm done with it. Ezekiel chapter 63, and I'm done with it. And it's so crazy that it's like, just like with that, when that man beat on that woman and she continues to go back, she's hoping that one day he okay. He's just upset. I did something wrong. Ezekiel, what is it on the paper?
Stop at 48.
16. Ezekiel 16. Yeah, that's what he's saying. Like, she's saying, maybe it's something that I've done. I burned the eggs. I deserve this beating. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? I didn't make the bed. I should have made the bed up. I knew I should have made that bed up. I knew he was coming home. Having that mindset is the same mindset that we have in America. Maybe we just cut my beard off. If I just cut my beard off, he'll accept me. I stopped talking with so much bass in my voice, he'll accept me. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, he beating the shit out you. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, I'm selective, y'all. I've been out of pocket. He even beating the mess out of you. You know what I'm saying? You just being mistreated in this country, and there's nothing that is going to make it better. But you thinking, you keep coming back to it, it's gonna get better. It'll get better. That's the relationship with Black Americans and this white in America. That's the relationship. You know what I'm saying? And even worse than that, Ezekiel 16, it calls it so clear. Start at verse 30, Bob.
This is Ezekiel chapter 16, verse 30. How weak is thy heart, said the Lord God, seeing thou doest all these things, the work of imperious whorish woman.
Right. It says, how weak is thine heart? How weak is your spirit that you must do these things? That you gotta keep Christmas. Knowing that Christmas is a lie. Knowing that July 4th is a lie. How weak is thine heart? You do the work of an imperious whorish woman. Keep going.
Come, verse 31. And thou that buildest.
Hustle like, slow down.
Verse 31. And that thou buildest thy eminent place in the head of every way.
You build your eminent place in the head of every way. Everything strong that you built up is in the way of your progress. You done built up this Christian church so great, but you can't even do nothing with the Christian church. Right. You know what I'm saying? You done built up education so high that everybody, you got to get your education. You got to go get you a bachelor's. You got to go get you a master's. You done built this up so high, but now you can't even do nothing. Now you got a bachelor's and ain't got a job. Now you got a master's and still ain't got a job. Keep going.
and makest thy high place in every street, and has not been as a harlot in that thou scornest higher.
Right, and you have not been as a harlot in that thou scornest higher. Right, even the harlot getting paid, even the harlot getting paid when she lay down, right. But you getting nothing out of it. Right. You get nothing out of it. Keep going.
But as a wife that committed adultery, which taketh strangers instead of her husband. Right,
because that's what a woman does, right? A whorish woman, a wife that commits adultery, she don't lay down with her man. The most Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives, you have a man, and that is the Most High God. But instead of laying with that man, right, in this sense, right, instead of being with that man, you're going to be with every adulterer. You went out here being with every stranger. Keep going.
Verse 33. They give gifts to all whores.
They give gifts to all whores. All the whores get the gift. This is what happens. In the world, the prostitute is the one you give the money to. This is who you give the money to. Keep going.
But thou givest thy gift to all thy lovers.
But instead, you give your money to all the lovers. You giving the money to the wife. You giving the money to the man that's. So like, tell your children to close their ears. You giving the money to the nigga that's fucking you. So like, instead, the way it's supposed to work is you give the money to the prostitute. But instead, you being the prostitute, us Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives, we giving our money to the John. We giving our money to the John. We giving our money to the one that's getting the pleasure out of us, that's taken from us. Keep going.
And hires them that they may come unto thee on every side for their whoredom.
And hires them so they may come onto every side for thy whoredom. This is what we do, man. In America, this is how we living. This is how we existing. This is our existence, man. We being mistreated and disrespected and hated on all of our sides. You understand what I'm saying? Instead of trying to get out of the situation, we crawl into it. We run into it. I want to vote. I got to be accepted by this white man. I got to get all of these things. You understand what I'm saying? This is the hell that we in. This is the hell we in. But what can we do? You come to the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge and put on that all black and change your ways. Change your life, man. And get out of this. Stop being a whore. You understand? Stop being a whore and giving your money to all of these men to unalive us and to disrespect us and waste us. Because in the same analogy and metaphor, that's what I'm looking for. In the same metaphor here that we're reading about, the I.S.U.P.K are the only ones that's coming to help you clean up your mess. Right. The I.S.U.P.K is the only one coming to help clean up your mess. Who else is going to do it? Your Christian pastor going to do it? Your Christian pastor running you deeper into it. You understand? All these people are just running you deeper into it, man. So yeah, that's it, man. This is the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out on 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command and General YAHANNA. Since 1969, we've been teaching the truth according to the Bible, that Blacks, Hispanics, and Natives are 12 tribes of Israel. You understand? And we ain't affiliated with no other Israelite group. And with that, I pass the class Precinct Officer 500 to Zahar Salah.
Yeah. Like my brother, you know what I'm saying? Salaki. This is the I.S.U.P.K security announcement. We are the I.S.U.P.K, started out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York. Rule for a new brother and sister. When a new brother or sister comes into the school, they are off limits for 6 months. They are to be saluted only. They are here to shed themselves of the world. If they need transportation, the teacher will arrange it. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has interest in a particular person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to a brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which the brother and sister will court each other. After 6 month period, the brother and sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tithes, which is a commandment, Numbers 18:21, Malachi 3:8-10, Ma'ashra means tenth in the Hebrew. 10% of every penny of any increase the Lord gives you. Pay that to the treasury. Give it to the treasury department or your teacher. Priest fund, free will offering for priests, not mandatory. Whatsoever amount you would like. So upcoming holy convocations, we got the closing of the feast of first fruits. That'll be this coming up Sunday, June the 8th. All right, so get with us. We got the flyer already made for that. Mm-hmm. Hopefully everybody come on out to that, man. We'll have a good time. If anyone wants to be a trooper in the school, start wearing all black, boots, shirt, pant, headband, and scarf. All right, with that, we're gonna say I.S.U.P.K. We're gonna give a courtesy salute to the brothers. I.S.U.P.K. Mani Shabbat, I.S.U.P.K. Barak,
YAHANNA Yahusha
Barak. We're gonna give a courtesy salute to the sisters. I.S.U.P.K. Mani Shabbat, I.S.U.P.K. Barak,
Yahusha
Yahusha. Class dismissed.